The gentle hum of the UES Phoenix's engines filled the bridge as Captain Kate watched the alien delegation leave through the airlock. Something felt off about their visit, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. The Stellar Confederation representatives had been polite, even friendly, during their 3-day stay aboard humanity's most advanced spaceship, yet their smiles never quite reached their eyes. Tom's voice crackled through the ship's comm system, breaking her chain of thought. "Captain, you need to come down to engineering. Now." The chief engineer's usually calm voice carried an edge of worry that made Kate's stomach twist. "On my way," she replied, already heading for the lift. The ship's corridors, normally bustling with crew members, felt eerily quiet. The soft blue lighting that ran along the walls pulsed steadily, but even that familiar sight did little to ease her growing concern. When the lift doors opened to the engineering deck, Kate immediately knew something was wrong. The air felt thick with tension, and the usual background noise of machinery had an odd, discordant note to it. Tom stood at the main control panel, his weathered face illuminated by the red warning lights flashing across the screens. "Look at this," he said without turning around, his fingers dancing across the display. These readings started changing right after our guests left. At first, I thought it was just normal fluctuations, but he pulled up a diagram of the ship's power grid. Various sections were highlighted in angry red. "They did something to our systems, Captain. The sabotage is subtle, but it's spreading." Kate leaned in closer, her eyes narrowing as she studied the display. "How bad is it?" "Bad." Tom wiped sweat from his forehead. "They somehow introduced a cascading failure into our main systems. The power grid, life support, navigation, they're all showing signs of degradation. We've got maybe 3 days before critical systems start failing completely." The captain's hands clenched into fists. "Can we fix it?" "That's the thing," Tom said, pulling up another screen filled with code that made no sense to Kate. "This isn't just damage. It's like they infected our systems with some kind of technological virus. Every time we try to repair one system, the problem shows up somewhere else." They knew exactly what they were doing. Kate turned to face the large viewport that showed the endless expanse of space. The nearest human outpost was weeks away at their current speed, and even that assumed they could maintain power to the engines. Options. "We're working on it, but—" Tom hesitated. "Captain, I've never seen technology like this. The way it adapts, the way it spreads, it's far beyond anything humans have developed. They must have been planning this for months." The ship's lights flickered, as if emphasizing Tom's point. Kate watched as several crew members rushed past, carrying diagnostic equipment and toolkits. Why? Why would they do this? "Think about it," Tom said, his voice low. "We show up in their space with the Phoenix, the most advanced ship humanity has ever built. We're newcomers to their galactic community, but we're advancing faster than any species they've encountered. Maybe we scared them." A young technician approached them, tablet in hand. "Sir, we're seeing problems in the auxiliary power systems now. Whatever they did, it's spreading faster than we anticipated." Kate felt the weight of command settling heavily on her shoulders. 300 crew members were depending on her to get them out of this mess. "Tom, I want you to put together a team. The best engineers we have. Work in shifts if you have to, but find a way to stop this." "Already on it, Captain." Tom turned to the technician. "Get Mike from Quantum Systems up here. Tell him to bring everything he has on alien tech analysis. If we're going to beat this, we need to understand how it works first." The next 12 hours passed in a blur of activity. Kate moved between the bridge and engineering, watching as her crew fought against an invisible enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once. The ship's systems continued to degrade, but slower now that they had identified some of the attack vectors. In engineering, Tom and his team had taken over an entire wall with diagrams and data streams. Mike, the young quantum systems specialist, sat cross-legged on the floor surrounded by tablets and portable computers, his eyes red from staring at screens for hours. The way this thing moves through our systems, Mike said, looking up at Kate as she entered. It's like it's alive. Not actually alive, but it adapts to everything we try. Traditional antivirus measures are useless against it. Show me, Kate said, kneeling beside him. Mike pulled up a visualization of the ship's computer network. Streams of red moved through the system like blood through veins, splitting and recombining in patterns that seemed almost organic. See how it reacts when we try to isolate a section, he demonstrated, and the red streams immediately found new paths around the blockade. It's the most advanced programming I've ever seen. A loud bang echoed through the deck, followed by the screech of tearing metal. Emergency klaxons began blaring as the deck plating beneath them shuddered. Status, Kate shouted into her comm. Primary power coupling just blew. Tom's voice came back, tight with stress. Switching to backups, but we're losing power faster than predicted. We've got maybe 36 hours now, not 3 days. Kate stood, her mind racing. They needed help, but the nearest Stellar Confederation world was even further away than the human outpost. Not that they could trust them now anyway. The sabotage had made one thing clear. Humanity's so-called allies saw them as a threat to be eliminated. Mike, she said suddenly, you said the programming is the most advanced you've ever seen. What if that's our advantage? The young engineer looked up, confused. What do you mean? They gave us access to their technology. Yes, they're using it against us, but it's still here, in our systems. We can study it, learn from it. Tom joined them, his face streaked with grease. You want to analyze the virus while it's actively trying to destroy our ship. That's risky, Captain. Riskier than doing nothing, Kate asked. They think they've beaten us. They think humans will just give up and die out here. But they don't understand who they're dealing with. Mike's eyes widened as he caught on to what she was suggesting. We could set up isolated systems to study how it works. If we understand the basic principles, we might be able to do more than just stop it, Tom finished, a glimmer of hope appearing in his tired eyes. But we'll need time. Another shudder ran through the ship, and the lights dimmed momentarily. Kate steadied herself against a console. Time is something we don't have much of. But we have the best crew in the fleet, and we have something else the Stellar Confederation didn't count on. What's that? Mike asked. Human stubbornness, Kate said with a grim smile. They think this virus will destroy us? Fine. Let's show them how humans deal with threats. We don't just survive them. We learn from them, adapt them, and come back stronger. Tom nodded slowly, then turned to his team. All right, people, new plan. I want 3 separate research teams set up. We're going to take this thing apart piece by piece. Mike, you're leading the analysis team. Jenny, get me power rerouted through the emergency systems. We need to buy ourselves more time. The rest of you, start preparing isolated testing environments. Let's show our alien friends what happens when they underestimate human ingenuity. As Kate watched her crew spring into action with renewed purpose, she knew the real battle was just beginning. The Stellar Confederation had tried to eliminate a potential rival, but their sabotage was about to backfire spectacularly. Humanity had never been good at accepting defeat, and they were about to learn it the hard way. The Phoenix's engines hummed beneath her feet, struggling against the spreading virus, but still fighting. Like her ship, Kate and her crew would not go quietly into the dark void of space. They would fight, adapt, and overcome. And when they were done, their ship would be more than just repaired. It would be transformed into something the galaxy had never seen before. Mike hadn't slept in 20 hours, but his eyes were wide with excitement as he stared at the holographic display floating above his workstation. The alien code danced before him in complex patterns that were starting to make a strange kind of sense. Next to him, Tom leaned forward, his own exhaustion forgotten as he watched the simulation play out. There, Mike pointed to a particular sequence. See how it responds. It's not just a virus. It's more like a living program. Every time we try to stop it, it learns and adapts. But that's not even the crazy part. He tapped a few commands, and the display shifted to show a deeper layer of code. Look at the base structure. Does this remind you of anything? Tom squinted at the flowing symbols. Wait a minute. That looks almost like the quantum processing theories we were working on back on Earth. The ones everyone said were impossible. Exactly. Mike's voice cracked with excitement. They're not just trying to destroy our ship. They're using technology that proves our theories were right all along. The Stellar Confederation must have figured this out decades ago. The ship shuddered around them, another system failing somewhere in its vast bulk. They had managed to slow the spread of the alien sabotage, but they were still losing the battle. The Phoenix's hull groaned like a wounded animal. Captain Kate's voice came through the comm system, tense but controlled. Engineering, we just lost gravity control on decks 5 through 8. How's that analysis coming? Captain, Mike replied, his fingers flying over the controls. I think you need to come see this. We may have found something big. When Kate arrived a few minutes later, she found her engineering team gathered around Mike's station, their faces lit by the blue glow of the holographic display. The young engineer could barely contain himself as he explained what they'd discovered. The aliens didn't just give us a weapon to destroy ourselves, he said, pulling up diagram after diagram. They accidentally gave us a key to understanding their entire technological base. This virus is built on principles we theorized, but could never prove. Until now. Tom stepped in, his weathered face animated. Think of it like they handed us a dictionary to translate their tech into our language. We're not just learning how to stop the sabotage, we're learning how their most advanced systems work. Kate watched the flowing patterns of light, remembering the smug expressions on the alien delegates' faces as they left the ship. Can we use this? Better than that, Mike said, pulling up a new display. We can improve on it. Look, their quantum processing is amazing, but it's rigid. They follow the rules they discovered centuries ago, but they never thought to question them. We humans, though, we love breaking rules. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Mike and Tom led teams working in sealed labs, studying the alien code and testing theories that would have seemed insane just days ago. They lost auxiliary power to the cargo decks, but nobody complained about carrying supplies up manual ladders. Every crew member knew they were racing against time. Kate split her attention between the bridge and engineering, watching as her crew pushed themselves to their limits and beyond. The ship's doctor made regular rounds with stimulant shots, keeping key personnel awake and focused. They couldn't afford to rest, not when every hour brought them closer to total system failure. The thing is, Mike explained during one of their hurried meetings, his hand shaking slightly from too much caffeine, they designed this program to attack our systems in ways they thought would be unfixable, but they based that on how their technology works. They never considered that we might approach problems differently. Tom nodded, pointing to a section of code displayed on the wall. Human engineering has always been about working with what we have, improvising when we need to. Their tech is more advanced, but it's also more structured. They don't adapt the way we do. So how do we use that? Kate asked, focusing on the practical implications. Mike grinned, looking almost manic with exhaustion and excitement. We let the virus think it's winning, but instead of fighting it directly, we're going to give it a path into systems we've prepared. Systems that look normal, but are actually experimental quantum processors we're building based on their own tech. Like a trap, Kate said slowly, beginning to understand. More like a maze, Tom corrected. Once it's in our test systems, we can study how it works in real time. More importantly, we can learn how to control it. The very thing they're using to destroy us could become the foundation for upgrading the Phoenix beyond anything they imagined possible. A loud alarm blared through the ship, and red warning lights began flashing. Main reactor showing signs of instability, the computer announced in its calm voice. Containment failure possible in 3 hours. We're out of time, Kate said, straightening up. How long do you need to implement this plan? Mike and Tom exchanged looks. The test systems are ready, Mike said. But redirecting the virus, studying it, learning to control it, that could take days. We've got hours at best. Then we'll have to work faster. Kate's voice was firm. I'm not losing this ship, and I'm not letting them win. Whatever resources you need, whatever personnel, they're yours. Just make it happen. The engineering deck became a hive of controlled chaos. Crew members who had never worked together before formed seamless teams, following Mike's theoretical insights and Tom's practical experience. They cannibalized non-essential systems, rebuilding them into quantum processors that barely anyone understood, but everyone hoped would work. As they worked, more systems failed across the ship. Life support was running on backups, and the artificial gravity flickered unpredictably. But with each passing hour, they understood more about the alien technology that was trying to destroy them. It was like reading a book written in a foreign language, difficult at first, but gradually becoming clearer as they recognized patterns and principles. Look at this, Mike called out suddenly, drawing everyone's attention. On his screen, a small section of alien code had been isolated in one of their test systems. As they watched, it attempted to spread and adapt as it had been programmed to do. But this time, something was different. The code hit the boundaries they had created and began to change in ways its creators had never intended. It's working, Tom whispered, leaning in closer. It's actually working. Kate watched the display, not understanding all the technical details but recognizing the hope in her engineers' faces. What exactly am I looking at? Mike's eyes were bright despite his exhaustion. We're not just stopping their virus, Captain. We're learning how to speak its language. And once we can do that... He paused, a slow smile spreading across his face. Well, let's just say the Stellar Confederation is about to learn that they made a very big mistake. The ship groaned around them, systems still failing. But now there was a new energy in the air. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were on the verge of something revolutionary. The aliens had meant to destroy them, but instead, they had handed humanity the keys to technological advancement beyond anything Earth had achieved before. The next step would be the riskiest, implementing their theories across the entire ship. But as Kate looked at her crew's determined faces, she knew they would find a way. The Phoenix was about to rise from its own ashes, transformed by the very weapon meant to destroy it. The main reactor chamber pulsed with an eerie blue light as Tom and his team worked. They had less than an hour before total containment failure, but nobody's hands shook as they installed the newly modified quantum processors. They couldn't afford to make mistakes, not now. Power levels dropping to 30%, the computer announced calmly. Warning lights cast red shadows across tired faces as crew members raced against time. Mike sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by tablets showing streams of alien code. He spoke into his comm unit, guiding teams throughout the ship as they prepared for what he called the upgrade of the century. Nobody mentioned that if he was wrong, they would all die in the cold vastness of space. Ready at Junction 4, a voice crackled through the comm. Junction 7 standing by, came another. Tom looked at the reactor's pulsing core, then at his tablet showing an ever-dropping power curve. Mike, if we're going to do this, it has to be now. Captain Kate's voice came through the ship-wide comm. All non-essential personnel, move to the emergency shelters. Engineering teams, stand by for power redistribution. This is not a drill. Mike took a deep breath and nodded to Tom. Initiating quantum transfer in 3, 2, 1. He pressed his hand against the main control panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the blue light of the reactor flickered and died completely. The ship went dark. In the pitch blackness, someone whispered, "Did it work?" A new light began to grow. Not the familiar blue of the reactor, but a strange, shifting purple that seemed to move with a life of its own. The emergency lights flickered back on, powered by the last of their backup systems. The virus is responding, Mike said, his eyes fixed on his displays. It's following the path we created, moving through the quantum processors exactly like we planned. Tom watched as indicators across his screen began to change. Power levels rising. 10%, 20, 30. The deck plating hummed beneath their feet with a new note, different from anything they'd felt before. Across the ship, systems that had been dead or failing suddenly sparked back to life. 50%, 70, we're past normal operating capacity and still climbing. Kate's voice cut through the excitement. Engineering, what's happening down there? We're getting some strange readings up here. It's working, Captain, Mike said, his voice filled with wonder. The virus isn't just being contained, it's being integrated. We're using its own adaptive properties to enhance our systems. The quantum processors are acting like translators, teaching our technology to speak their language. Through the viewport, crew members could see the strange purple glow beginning to spread through the visible power conduits of the ship. The Phoenix was changing from the inside out. Captain, the ship's AI announced suddenly, its voice somehow different, richer, more alive. I am detecting significant improvements in all major systems. Processing capacity has increased by 400% and rising. Kate stepped onto the engineering deck just in time to see the main display wall transform. Instead of the usual basic readouts, it showed complex three-dimensional representations of the ship's systems that moved and flowed like liquid light. The AI, Mike explained, pointing to the display, it's evolving. The quantum processors we built using their technology, they're not just improving our hardware, they're changing the way our whole ship thinks. Tom was moving from station to station, checking readings with an expression of disbelief. The power grid isn't just repaired, it's reconfiguring itself, becoming more efficient. The virus tried to destroy us by spreading through our systems. Instead, we're using its spread to upgrade everything it touches. Incoming transmission, the AI announced. Stellar Confederation vessel detected at long range. The crew froze. They weren't ready for a confrontation, not in the middle of such massive changes to their systems. But as data continued to flow across their screens, Mike began to smile. Captain, he said, I don't think we need to worry. Take a look at these weapon systems readings. Kate studied the displays, her eyes widening. The Phoenix's defensive capabilities had been impressive before. Now they were off the charts. But more importantly, she could see entirely new systems coming online. Technologies they had never dreamed of installing. The ship's hull, Tom reported, it's restructuring at the molecular level. Some kind of self-repairing metal using principles from their quantum tech. And the engines, he shook his head in amazement. We're going to be able to outrun anything they throw at us. The purple glow had spread throughout the ship now, settling into a steady pulse that matched the rhythm of the new power systems. Crew members emerged from their shelters to find their stations transformed, displays showing capabilities that would have seemed like magic just hours ago. Multiple Confederation vessels now detected, the AI reported. They appear to be on an intercept course. Let them come, Kate said quietly. Tactical, give me a full analysis of our new capabilities. Engineering, I want to know everything this ship can do now. We're not running from them. We're going to show them exactly what happens when you underestimate human ingenuity. As her crew scrambled to understand their transformed ship, Kate walked to the main viewport. The Phoenix had been the pride of Earth's fleet before. Now it was something else entirely. A hybrid of human creativity and alien technology, transformed by the very weapon meant to destroy it. The ship's AI spoke again, its voice now carrying subtle harmonics that made it sound almost musical. Captain, I believe you should see this. I am detecting capabilities in our new systems that even the Confederation has not developed. It seems that by forcing their technology to adapt to our methods, we have created something unique. Mike looked up from his station, his exhaustion forgotten in the excitement of discovery. That's what they never understood about humans, Captain. They gave us a puzzle, thinking we'd try to solve it their way. Instead, we took it apart, and built something better. Their mistake, Tom added with a grin, was thinking we'd just give up and die. They didn't realize that humans have been taking things apart and improving them since we first picked up stones as tools. Through the viewport, they could see the first glimpses of the approaching Confederation ships, still hours away at normal speeds. But the Phoenix was no longer bound by normal limits. Its hull gleamed with a subtle purple sheen, power coursing through newly formed quantum circuits that defied conventional physics. Kate smiled as she watched her crew work, already mastering systems that hadn't existed hours ago. The aliens had tried to eliminate a potential rival, but they had only succeeded in pushing humanity to evolve faster than anyone could have predicted. The Phoenix wasn't just repaired, it was reborn. The Stellar Confederation fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in a dazzling display of light, their ships arranged in an attack formation that might have been intimidating just a day ago. Now, as Captain Kate watched them approach on the Phoenix's enhanced sensors, she felt only a calm certainty. 5 heavy cruisers, 3 destroyer-class vessels, and what appears to be their flagship, the AI reported, its evolved voice carrying subtle tones of curiosity. Their weapon systems are powered up, but their shields show signs of inefficiency that our new sensors can detect. Mike hadn't left his station in engineering for hours, fascinated by the continuing evolution of the ship's systems. "Captain, you need to see this. The quantum processors aren't just running the ship anymore. They're improving themselves. Every minute we're getting stronger." A communication request flashed across the main screen. Kate straightened her uniform and nodded. "Accept transmission." The alien commander appeared on screen. His scaled face, set in what they had learned, was an expression of superiority. "Human vessel Phoenix, your ship is showing unusual energy signatures. Power down your systems immediately and prepare to be boarded. This is your only warning." Kate smiled slightly. "I'm afraid we can't do that, Commander. You see, we've been making some improvements since your last visit. Would you like to see them?" The alien's face shifted to a deeper shade of green. Anger, they had learned. Your species' arrogance is remarkable. You were meant to be eliminated quietly, avoiding unnecessary conflict. Now you force us to make an example of you. "About that," Kate replied, glancing at her tactical display. "Tom, why don't we show them one of our new tricks?" In engineering, Tom grinned and entered a series of commands. The Phoenix's hull rippled with purple energy, and suddenly the ship split into perfect duplicates. 5 identical vessels surrounding the Confederation fleet. "Impossible," the alien commander sputtered. "This is beyond your technology level." It was, Kate agreed. "But we've had some help. Your sabotage program made an excellent teaching aid. Though I don't think we're using it quite the way you intended." The tactical officer's console lit up with warnings. "Multiple targeting locks from the Confederation fleet, Captain. They're preparing to fire." "Defensive systems status?" Kate asked calmly. "The new quantum shields are operating at 400% of our original capacity," the AI reported. "Additionally, I have developed 14 new defensive protocols based on the combined knowledge of human and Confederation technology." The alien commander's face had lost its superior look, replaced by something closer to fear. "Stand down, humans. You don't understand the forces you're playing with." "Actually," Mike's voice came through the comm, "I think we understand them better than you do now. Your technology is impressive, but it's stable, unchanging. You never thought to question it, to push its limits. But that's what humans do best." The first shots from the Confederation fleet lit up space and passed harmlessly through 4 of the Phoenix duplicates. The real ship's quantum shields absorbed the rest of the barrage, the energy rippling across their surface in beautiful patterns. "Return fire?" the tactical officer asked. Kate shook her head. "No, show them something else instead." The Phoenix's hull began to glow brighter, the purple energy coalescing into visible streams that connected all 5 projections of the ship. The AI's voice carried a note of pride as it reported, "Quantum field stabilized." ready to demonstrate new faster-than-light capabilities. In engineering, Mike and Tom watched in amazement as their improvements took on forms they hadn't even imagined. The ship wasn't just using the alien technology, it was reinventing it. The quantum processors, Mike said excitedly, they're not just computing anymore. They're rewriting the laws of physics on a local level. The aliens use this technology to follow rules. We're using it to break them. The Phoenix and its duplicates began to move in perfect synchronization, creating geometric patterns in space that seemed to bend reality itself. Each movement left trails of purple light that formed complex, mathematical structures. On the Confederation ship sensors, alarms were blaring. They had never seen anything like this before. Their own technology, refined over centuries, was being used in ways they had never imagined possible. "What you're seeing," Kate told the increasingly agitated alien commander, "is what happens when you give humans a puzzle to solve. We don't just find the solution. We rewrite the rules of the game." The Phoenix's duplicates suddenly collapsed back into the original ship, but the purple energy patterns remained, forming a complex web around both fleets. The AI announced, "Captain, I am detecting quantum entanglement effects on a massive scale. We can now predict the Confederation fleet's movements before they make them." The alien commander's transmission crackled with interference as their systems struggled to cope with the Phoenix's transformations. "This is unprecedented. Your ship should have been destroyed by our program." "Here's what you don't understand about humans," Kate said, leaning forward in her chair. "We learn from everything, even from attempts to destroy us. Your sabotage program was complex, yes, but it was rigid, designed to follow specific patterns. We saw those patterns and found ways to change them, to improve them." As if to demonstrate her point, the Phoenix's hull suddenly became translucent, then shifted through various states of matter before returning to its solid form. The quantum processors had given them control over the fundamental properties of their own ship. "Captain," Mike called from engineering, "the AI is showing signs of another evolutionary leap. It's not just running the ship anymore. It's starting to understand the underlying principles of the universe in ways our scientists never dreamed of." The Confederation fleet held their position, weapons still armed but no longer firing. They were witnessing something unprecedented, a ship that had taken their most advanced technology and transformed it into something new, something that defied their understanding of what was possible. "Your ship," the alien commander said slowly, "what have you turned it into?" Kate looked around her bridge, at the displays showing capabilities that seemed more like magic than technology, at her crew working confidently with systems that hadn't existed a day ago. "We've turned it into proof that humanity deserves its place among the stars. You tried to stop our progress, but you only succeeded in accelerating it." The Phoenix's sensors detected power fluctuations in the Confederation fleet, signs of confusion and uncertainty in their ranks. Their perfect formation began to waver as they faced something their centuries of technological development hadn't prepared them for, a species that didn't just use technology, but transformed it. "The question now," Kate said to the alien commander, "is what happens next. We could demonstrate more of our improvements, but I don't think that's necessary, is it?" The commander's scales had paled to a lighter shade of green. He looked off-screen, presumably at his own readings of the Phoenix's capabilities, then back at Kate. When he spoke again, the superiority was gone from his voice, replaced by something that might have been respect or fear. "Perhaps," he said carefully, "we should discuss this situation in more detail." The meeting room aboard the Phoenix hummed with its new energy as Captain Kate sat across from the stellar Confederation commander. The purple glow from the ship's transformed systems cast strange shadows on the alien's scaled face. Between them, a holographic display showed the incredible changes the ship had undergone in the past day. "Impossible," the commander muttered, watching as the display demonstrated the Phoenix's new capabilities. "Our best scientists spent centuries developing these technologies. How did you manage this in mere hours?" "Because you gave us no choice," Kate replied simply. When humans are backed into a corner, we don't give up. We get creative. Your sabotage program wasn't just a weapon to us. It was a textbook, a challenge, and an opportunity all rolled into one. In engineering, Mike and Tom worked with their teams, still discovering new possibilities in their hybrid systems. The ship's AI had evolved to the point where it could predict their needs before they voiced them, bringing up relevant data and suggesting improvements they hadn't even considered. The quantum processing matrix has achieved another breakthrough. The AI announced, its voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate with the ship itself. I am detecting similar possibilities for advancement in the Confederation fleet systems, though they remain dormant due to current programming limitations. The alien commander's eyes widened at this. You can read our ship's systems. We can do more than that, Mike said, joining them in the meeting room. His uniform was wrinkled from hours of non-stop work, but his eyes were bright with excitement. We can improve them. Your technology is incredible, but you've been using it the same way for so long that you've stopped seeing new possibilities. Tom entered behind him, carrying a data tablet showing complex quantum calculations. Your sabotage program was designed to exploit what you saw as weaknesses in our systems. Instead, it showed us how to make our systems more adaptable, more alive. The Phoenix isn't just a ship anymore. It's becoming something entirely new. As if to emphasize his point, the walls of the meeting room briefly became transparent, showing the space around them, where the Confederation fleet hung in formation. The commander flinched, but Kate remained calm, knowing the ship was simply demonstrating its enhanced capabilities. The quantum processors we developed, Mike explained, they don't just compute. They learn, adapt, and evolve. And because we built them by combining your technology with human innovation, they can do things neither of us thought possible. The ship's AI joined the conversation, its holographic interface showing the complex web of improvements spreading through the Phoenix's systems. I have analyzed the complete history of Confederation technological development. Your species achieved remarkable advances, but became conservative, focusing on perfecting existing systems rather than exploring new possibilities. And humans? The commander asked, a new note of respect in his voice. Humans, the AI replied, approach problems differently. When faced with established rules, they instinctively look for ways to bend or break them. This creates inefficiencies, but also leads to unexpected breakthroughs. The combination of Confederation precision and human creativity has produced something greater than either could achieve alone. Kate watched as understanding dawned on the alien commander's face. You intended to eliminate us because you saw us as a potential threat. But what if instead we could be partners? The commander looked at the displays showing the Phoenix's transformed systems, then at his own fleet's readings. You could have destroyed us when we attacked. Why didn't you? Because that's not who we are, Kate said firmly. Humans can be aggressive, yes, and we fight fiercely when threatened. But what we really want is to explore, to learn, to grow. We don't want to dominate the galaxy. We want to help make it better. Mike pulled up new data on the holographic display. Look at these readings. The quantum processors aren't just improving our ship. They're showing us ways to improve everything around us. More efficient power systems, better medical technology, faster and safer space travel. But we need your experience to help us understand it all. The commander was quiet for a long moment, studying the data. When he spoke again, his voice had lost its earlier hostility. In all our history of encountering new species, none has ever done what you've managed in the past day. We thought we were protecting the galaxy's stability by controlling the spread of advanced technology. Perhaps we were wrong. The Phoenix's systems pulsed with a gentle light, and the AI displayed a new set of calculations. I am detecting potential compatibility between our new hybrid technology and all known Confederation systems. Estimated improvement in overall efficiency, 300%. Potential new technological developments. Calculating. The numbers that appeared made both humans and aliens in the room catch their breath. The possibilities were staggering. "What you've created here," the commander said slowly, "could change everything. But change can be dangerous." "It can also be wonderful," Kate replied. "You tried to stop our progress because you feared what we might become. Now you've seen what we can do when pushed to our limits. The question is, do you want to keep seeing us as a threat, or would you rather see what we can accomplish together?" Tom stepped forward, offering his tablet to the commander. "We've already drawn up plans for how we could safely share these improvements with your fleet. No weapons, no military applications, just better engines, more efficient power systems, improved life support. A gesture of good faith." The commander took the tablet, his scaled fingers moving across its surface as he read. His eyes widened as he understood the implications. This level of technological advancement, freely shared. "Knowledge grows when it's shared," Mike said with a smile. "That's something humans learned a long time ago. Besides, we're going to need help understanding all of this. We may have stumbled onto something amazing, but we're still new to galactic civilization. We have a lot to learn." The ship's AI interrupted with a new announcement. Long-range sensors detecting additional Confederation vessels approaching. Estimated arrival time: 6 hours. The commander looked at Kate. "The Confederation Council. They will want to see this for themselves." "Good," Kate said, standing, "because we have a proposal for them. The Phoenix isn't just a ship anymore. It's proof that our species can work together to create something greater than ourselves. Instead of trying to control the flow of technology through the galaxy, what if we work together to improve it?" The purple glow of the ship's systems seemed to brighten, as if responding to her words. The AI displayed a new set of calculations, showing the potential benefits of cooperation between human innovation and Confederation experience. "Your sabotage program was meant to be our end," Kate continued. "Instead, it became a beginning. The question is, are you ready to be part of what comes next?" The commander looked around the room one last time, at the impossible ship that had taken their most advanced technology and transformed it into something new, at the humans who had done in hours what his people hadn't managed in centuries. Finally, he nodded. "I will speak to the Council on your behalf," he said. "They need to see what you've accomplished here, what we might accomplish together." As the commander left to return to his ship, Kate stood at the viewport watching the Confederation fleet. The Phoenix hummed around her, its new systems still evolving, still growing. They had not only survived the attempt to destroy them, they had turned it into an opportunity to change the galaxy itself. The ship's AI spoke one last time, its evolved voice carrying a note of optimism that seemed very human indeed. "Captain, I am detecting the formation of new quantum possibilities. The future, it seems, is about to become very interesting." Kate smiled. Humanity's first steps into the galaxy hadn't gone as planned, but maybe that was fitting. After all, doing the unexpected was what humans did best. The old ship floated silently in space, its gray hull reflecting the distant starlight. Most people called the U.S. Steadfast a piece of junk, but Captain James Walker saw something different when he looked at his command. The ship might be 30 years old, but there was beauty in its unusual design. The way its hull curved unlike modern vessels, how its old-style engine glowed with a soft blue light instead of the sharp white of newer ships. Walker stood on the bridge, watching his crew work at their stations. They weren't the best in the fleet. No one assigned their top people to an outdated training vessel, but they were his crew, and they worked hard. Some were old veterans like him, ones who couldn't get better posts. Others were fresh faces, young officers using this posting as their first step towards something bigger. "Captain, engineering reports the weekly power core tests are complete," said Tom Miller, his first officer. Miller was young, but he had a good head on his shoulders. Unlike most junior officers, he didn't look down on the Steadfast. Walker nodded, checking the readings on his screen. "How did the numbers look this time?" "Better than expected, sir. Engineer Roberts says the core is running at 95% efficiency. That's impossible for a ship this old, but she swears the readings are correct. This made Walker smile. The Steadfast Power Core was special, part of an experimental program that the military had abandoned years ago. Modern ships used cores that were smaller, lighter, and supposedly more efficient. But Walker had studied the old designs. They weren't inefficient. They were just built for a different purpose. Tell Roberts to keep monitoring those readings. I want to know if anything changes. Walker turned his attention to the main viewport, watching as a modern patrol ship passed by. The newer vessel was sleek and powerful, with weapons that could hit targets at twice the range of the Steadfast's old guns. But Walker knew something that most people had forgotten. Sometimes the old ways had advantages that weren't obvious at first glance. The bridge crew worked quietly, running through their normal training exercises. They were practicing basic maneuvers today, the kind of things that would bore crews on more advanced ships. But Walker had added his own twists to the exercises, making his crew think about problems differently. "Sir," called out Lucy Green from the sensor station, "I'm picking up some unusual readings from the shield harmonics during our turns." Walker walked over to her station, looking at the data. Most captains would ignore such small variations. Modern shields were meant to be stable and consistent. But the Steadfast's old shield system worked differently. It could change and adapt in ways that newer designs couldn't match. "Record those readings," he told Green. "I want to study them later." He had been collecting data like this for months, building a picture of what his ship could really do. The military thought ships like the Steadfast were too power-hungry, their systems too demanding to be useful. But Walker saw patterns in the data that told a different story. The day continued with more exercises. Walker watched as his crew practiced emergency procedures, power management, and basic combat drills. They weren't as fast as crews on modern ships, but they were thorough. They understood their ship's systems instead of relying on automatic controls to do everything. During the lunch break, Walker sat in his office, studying old technical manuals. The Steadfast was part of the Guardian-class experimental program, ships built to test new ideas about space combat. The program had been canceled when newer, supposedly better designs came along. But Walker had spent years piecing together why these ships had been built this way. The power core's massive size wasn't just inefficiency. It was built to handle energy in ways that modern cores couldn't match. The shield system's high power demand came from its ability to change frequency and strength in ways that newer shields had abandoned as unnecessary. Even the hull's unusual shape had a purpose, though Walker was still working to understand exactly what it was. A knock at his door interrupted his studies. "Enter," he called out, and Chief Engineer Roberts walked in. She was an older woman who had served on Guardian-class ships when they were new. "Captain, I've been looking at those power readings you asked about," she said, putting a datapad on his desk. "There's something strange happening when we run the shield harmonics at full power. The core isn't just handling it. It's becoming more efficient. That shouldn't be possible." Walker picked up the pad, looking at the numbers. "The old designers knew what they were doing, Mary. They built these ships to handle things that modern ships can't do. We just need to figure out what those things are." Roberts nodded slowly. "Most of the fleet thinks we're just a floating museum piece. But you got ideas about this ship, don't you, sir?" "I do," Walker admitted. "The Guardian program was canceled before they finished testing everything these ships could do. I think they gave up too soon. There's something special about the Steadfast. We just need to prove it." The afternoon shift brought more routine tasks. Walker had his crew practice power management drills, teaching them how to handle the core's massive energy output. Modern ships had automated systems for this, but the Steadfast required manual control. It was harder work, but it meant his crew truly understood how their ship worked. As the day shift ended, Walker stood at the viewport again, watching the stars. Tomorrow they would patrol the quiet sectors of space where nothing ever happened. The fleet kept the Steadfast away from any real action, thinking it was too old and weak to be useful. But Walker knew better. His ship wasn't weak, it was different. And sometimes, Being different was exactly what you needed. He thought about all the data he had collected, all the patterns he had noticed. The way the shield harmonics changed during turns, how the power core became more efficient under high loads. The unusual ways the hull dispersed energy. Alone, each thing seemed like a quirk or a flaw. But together, they painted a picture of a ship that could do things its designers might never have imagined. Someday, he whispered to himself, everyone will understand what you can really do. He patted the wall of his ship gently, feeling the slight vibration of its systems through his hand. The Steadfast might be old, but age didn't always mean weakness. Sometimes it meant having secrets that the young had forgotten. The night shift crew began arriving, taking their stations. Walker gave them their orders for the night. More exercises, more data collection, more learning about their ship's true capabilities. As he headed to his quarters, he thought about all the modern ships out there, with their crews who relied on computers to do their thinking for them. They might be faster and more powerful, but they had forgotten something important. The best weapons weren't always the newest ones. Sometimes, the best weapons were the ones that everyone else had forgotten about. In his quarters, Walker added the day's data to his private files. Another piece of the puzzle. Another step toward understanding what the Steadfast could really do. Someday, they would need ships that could do more than just follow standard tactics. When that day came, Walker would be ready. His outdated, underestimated ship would show everyone that sometimes the old ways were the best ways. He just hoped they would figure it out before it was too late. The emergency alert woke Walker in the middle of the night. Red lights flashed through his quarters as he quickly put on his uniform. When he reached the bridge, his crew was already at their stations, faces tight with worry. "Report," Walker ordered, taking his seat. Tom Miller turned from his console, his face pale. "Sir, we're receiving emergency broadcasts from Fleet Command. Long-range sensors have detected a massive force entering human space. It's the Meridian Compact." Walker felt his stomach tighten. Everyone knew about the Meridian Compact, an alliance of alien species known for their advanced technology and aggressive expansion. Until now, they had stayed away from human territory, but there had always been rumors that they saw humanity as a threat. "Show me," Walker said. The main screen lit up with sensor data. Even from a distance, the numbers were frightening. Hundreds of ships, all of them more advanced than anything in Earth's fleet. Their energy readings were off the charts. "Orders from command, sir," Lucy Green called from communications. "All ships are to fall back to defensive positions. The Steadfast is ordered to begin evacuating civilian outposts in Sector 7. Walker nodded slowly. Of course they wouldn't want his old ship in the fight. The Steadfast was considered too weak, too outdated to face modern warships. But something about the sensor readings caught his eye. "Ms. Green, zoom in on the enemy fleet's energy signatures." Walker studied the patterns carefully. There was something familiar about them, something that reminded him of his research into the Steadfast's systems. The next few days were a blur of activity. The Steadfast moved from outpost to outpost, loading civilians onto emergency transports. Walker's crew worked tirelessly, helping families pack what they could carry and comforting children who didn't understand why they had to leave their homes. Between evacuations, Walker spent every spare moment studying the data they collected about the Compact's fleet. Their ships used energy in ways that seemed impossible, weapons that could tear through modern shields, engines that moved faster than anything humans had built. But the more he looked, the more he saw patterns that connected to his research about the Steadfast's old systems. "Captain," Engineer Roberts called him to engineering one evening. "I've been looking at the Compact's shield frequencies. They're using modulation patterns that are similar to what our old system can do, just more advanced." Walker leaned over the engineering console, excitement building in his chest. "Show me the comparisons." Roberts pulled up two displays, one showing the Steadfast's shield harmonics, the other showing the Compact's patterns. They weren't identical, but the basic principles were the same. The Guardian program had been developing something similar 30 years ago, before it was canceled. Their technology works on the same principles we were exploring, Walker said quietly. But they took it further than we did. They perfected it while we abandoned it for simpler designs. As they continued their evacuation mission, more reports came in about the Compact's advance. Earth's modern ships were failing against the alien technology. Their weapons couldn't penetrate the Compact's shields. Their own shields collapsed under the alien weapons. Everything that made Earth's fleet modern and efficient was proving useless against the invaders. During one evacuation, Walker found something interesting. The outpost they were clearing had an old research station, and in its databases, he discovered files from the Guardian program that he had never seen before. The station's computers were so old that they had been forgotten during system updates, leaving these files untouched for decades. "Look at this," he showed Miller and Roberts in his office. The Guardian ships weren't just experiments. They were built based on theories about advanced alien technology. The designers thought that simple, brute force systems might work better against highly advanced enemies than our modern, refined technology. Miller looked confused. But why would older technology work better? Because it's not about being old or new, Walker explained. It's about using power differently. Modern ships try to be efficient, using just enough power for each task. But the steadfast systems are built to handle massive energy loads. They're not efficient, but they're incredibly adaptable. The evidence was in the Compact's own ships. Their advanced technology used principles similar to what the Guardian program had been exploring. But where the Compact had refined and perfected these systems, the Steadfast's crude, powerful approach might actually be more flexible. More bad news arrived with each passing day. The Compact was pushing deeper into human space, and Earth's fleet was taking heavy losses. Modern ships fought bravely, but couldn't stand against the alien technology. The Steadfast continued its evacuation duties, moving further from the front lines as the situation grew worse. Walker kept gathering data, testing his theories in small ways during their flights between outposts. He pushed the power core harder than usual, tested shield configurations that no modern ship would try. The results supported his ideas. The Steadfast systems could do things that shouldn't be possible according to modern military doctrine. "Sir," Miller caught him after a late shift. "The crew's been talking. They know you're working on something. They've seen how you're testing the ship's systems, studying the Compact's technology. They want to help." Walker looked at his first officer for a long moment. Everything he had learned told him that the Steadfast might be able to fight the Compact effectively. But attempting it would mean risking his crew, his ship, and his career. The safe choice was to follow orders and stay away from the fighting. But then another message came through. The Compact had reached New Haven, humanity's largest colony world. Earth's fleet was gathering for one last stand, but everyone knew it would probably fail. Modern ships just couldn't compete with the alien technology. Walker stood on his bridge, watching the stars through the viewport. His crew waited quietly, knowing that their captain was making a difficult decision. They had evacuated their last outpost. New orders would come soon, probably telling them to retreat even further from the fighting. But Walker had made up his mind. The Steadfast might be old, but it wasn't weak. Its outdated systems, which everyone thought were too crude and power-hungry to be useful, might be exactly what humanity needed. The ship no one feared might be the only one that could stand against the Compact's advanced technology. "Plot a course for New Haven," he ordered. "It's time to show everyone what this old ship can really do." His crew straightened in their seats, ready to face whatever came next. They had spent months learning their ship's true capabilities. Now they would put that knowledge to the test, proving that sometimes the old ways were the best ways. The Steadfast's engines glowed brighter than usual as they turned toward New Haven. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. The ship that everyone thought was too old and weak to fight was about to show the galaxy that being underestimated could be the greatest advantage of all. The Steadfast raced through space toward New Haven, its old engines pushing harder than they had in years. In engineering, Mary Roberts worked with her team to implement Walker's ideas. They weren't just breaking the rules of modern ship design, they were rewriting them. Divert power from the secondary systems, Roberts ordered, her hands moving across the control panel. Route everything through the main core. Modern ships would never do this. It was too dangerous, too wasteful. But the Steadfast's massive power core could handle loads that would burn out newer designs. On the bridge, Walker and Miller studied the latest data about the Compact's fleet. They had been collecting information during each encounter, watching how the alien ships fought. Their advanced technology had patterns that matched theories from the old Guardian program files. Look here, Walker pointed to a sensor reading. Their shields change frequency to match incoming fire. That's why our modern weapons can't hurt them. But the Steadfast's old shield system was built to do something similar. Miller leaned closer. Our shields can change frequency too. They can do more than that. Walker pulled up his research files. The Guardian program was developing shields that could absorb energy and redirect it. Modern ships abandoned the idea because it used too much power. But we have power to spare. Through the ship's intercom, Roberts' voice came from engineering. Captain, we've finished the shield modifications, ready to test when you are. Walker looked at his crew. They were all watching, waiting. They had followed him this far, trusting that their captain knew what he was doing. Now it was time to prove that trust wasn't misplaced. Take us to the asteroid field, Walker ordered. They had passed a dense cluster of space rocks on their way to New Haven. It would be perfect for testing their ideas. The Steadfast moved carefully through the asteroid field. Walker had his weapons officer, Jack Thompson, target a medium-sized rock. Fire one torpedo, low yield. The torpedo shot out, hitting the asteroid. As expected, chunks of rock flew everywhere. But instead of bouncing off the Steadfast's shields, something different happened. The shields glowed brighter than usual, and the energy readings spiked. Engineering to bridge, Roberts called. Captain, the shields didn't just block the debris. They absorbed the kinetic energy. The power core is processing it, adding it to our reserves, just like you thought it could. Walker smiled. This was what the Guardian program had been working toward. Shields that didn't just protect, but turned enemy attacks into power. Modern ships couldn't do this because their power cores weren't strong enough. But the Steadfast's inefficient core was perfect for it. They spent the next few hours testing different configurations. Each test showed them something new about their ship's capabilities. The old power core could handle enormous energy loads. The shield system could be tuned to frequencies that modern sensors barely detected. Even the unusual hull design played a part, helping to channel and redirect energy in ways that newer ships couldn't match. It's like putting together a puzzle, Miller said, watching another successful test. All these old systems that everyone thought were obsolete, they were actually built to work together in ways we're just now understanding. Walker nodded. The Guardian program engineers were ahead of their time. They saw that highly advanced technology might not always be the answer. Sometimes you need systems that are simple but powerful, adaptable instead of efficient. As they worked, more reports came in about the battle at New Haven. Earth's fleet was fighting bravely, but they were losing. The Compact's ships were too advanced, their weapons too powerful. Modern shields couldn't stop them, and modern weapons couldn't harm them. But Walker saw something in the reports that others had missed. The Compact's ships were advanced, yes, but they were also predictable. They relied on their technology working in specific ways. They never expected to face something like the Steadfast, something that could turn their own power against them. Ms. Green, Walker called to his sensor officer. Show me the energy patterns from that last test. The display lit up with data. The Steadfast's shields hadn't just absorbed the energy from their tests. They had amplified it. The power core was able to take that energy and make it stronger. Chief Roberts, Walker called engineering. Could we modify the shields to release stored energy in a controlled burst? There was a pause before Roberts answered. Yes, sir. The core can handle it. But the release would be massive, probably enough to overload any normal shield system in range. That was exactly what Walker wanted to hear. Modern shields were carefully tuned, precisely balanced. But the compact used more advanced versions of the same technology. If the Steadfast could overload their shields the same way. One more test, Walker ordered. They set up a series of sensor buoys to simulate enemy ships. The Steadfast's modified shields absorbed energy from small weapons fire, held it, amplified it through the power core, and then released it in a massive burst. The test results were better than Walker had hoped. Sir, Miller said quietly, this could actually work. We could hurt them. Walker looked at his crew. They had all seen the test results. They knew what their ship could do now. But using these abilities in real combat would be dangerous. The power levels they were dealing with could tear the Steadfast apart if anything went wrong. I won't order anyone to stay, Walker told his crew. What we're planning to do goes against every modern naval doctrine. If it fails, we'll lose the ship and probably our lives. Anyone who wants to transfer off before we reach New Haven can do so. The bridge was quiet for a moment. Then Thompson spoke from his weapons station. Sir, we've all seen what this ship can do. Modern ships are dying out there because they can't adapt. But the Steadfast, she's different. She's special. One by one, other crew members nodded. They had spent months learning their ship's true capabilities. They had seen the test results. They believed in their captain and in their ship. Very well, Walker said. Let's finish the modifications. When we reach New Haven, we'll show everyone why they should have paid more attention to this old ship. The Steadfast continued toward New Haven, its systems humming with more power than they had in years. The ship that everyone thought was too old and weak to fight had become something else, something that could stand against the most advanced fleet in known space. Walker stood at his viewport, watching the stars streak by. Soon, they would face the Compact's fleet. Soon, they would show the galaxy that sometimes the old ways, the forgotten ways, were exactly what you needed to win an impossible fight. The Steadfast dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Haven system. The view on the main screen made everyone on the bridge fall silent. Hundreds of ships filled space around the colony world. The sleek, purple-hulled vessels of the Meridian Compact facing off against Earth's white and gray fleet. Status report, Walker ordered, his voice steady despite the scene before them. Earth fleet is heavily damaged, Lucy Green reported from her sensor station. They've lost 30% of their ships. The Compact's fleet is barely scratched. Their shields are holding against everything we throw at them. Walker watched the battle unfold. Earth's modern ships fought bravely, but their weapons splashed harmlessly against the Compact's advanced shields. When the alien ships fired back, their energy weapons cut through human shields like they weren't even there. Engineering reports all systems ready, Miller said. The power core is running at maximum capacity. Shields are configured according to your specifications. Walker nodded. They had spent the entire journey here preparing for this moment. The Steadfast systems were running in ways that would make any modern engineer scream in horror. Power readings that should have blown out their circuits were instead being channeled and controlled by the old ship's overbuilt systems. Sir, Thompson called from weapons. Fleet Command is ordering us to stay back. They're saying we're not equipped for this fight. Of course they would say that. Looking at the Steadfast's official specifications, no one would think this old training ship could make a difference. But Walker knew better. His crew knew better. Send no reply, Walker ordered. Cut our transmitters. From here on, we work alone. He studied the battle pattern, looking for the right moment to make their move. The Compact ships flew in perfect formation, their movements precise and coordinated. That precision would be their weakness. Take us in, Walker ordered. Full power to the engines. Plot a course straight through their line. The bridge crew looked at him in surprise, but they obeyed. The Steadfast's engines roared to life, pushing the old ship faster than it had moved in years. On the screen, they could see other human ships trying to warn them off, probably thinking the Steadfast's crew had lost their minds. The first alien ships noticed them coming. Their purple hulls gleamed as they turned to face this new threat. Walker could almost imagine their crews laughing at the sight of an outdated human vessel charging straight at them. Enemy ships powering weapons, Green reported. They're targeting us. Hold course, Walker said calmly. Wait for my signal. The compact ships opened fire. Their energy weapons, so deadly to modern human vessels, lashed out at the Steadfast. But instead of cutting through their shields, something different happened. The old ship's shields glowed bright blue, absorbing the energy of the attacks. Power core holding steady, Roberts reported from engineering. Shield energy levels rising. The absorption is working exactly like we planned. More alien ships joined the attack, probably confused by how this obsolete vessel was surviving their weapons. Each shot they fired just made the Steadfast's shields glow brighter. The power core hummed louder, taking in all that energy and storing it. Sir, Miller pointed at the tactical display. We've drawn their attention. 3 of their heavy cruisers are moving to cut us off. Perfect. The compact ships were reacting exactly as Walker had hoped. They were so confident in their advanced technology that they never considered it might be used against them. All hands, brace for maneuver, Walker ordered. The Steadfast's engines screamed as Walker ordered a turn that should have been impossible for a ship this size. But the old engines handled it, their excessive power pushing them through. Now they were surrounded. Compact ships on all sides, their weapons still firing. Earth's fleet watched in confusion as this old training vessel drove deeper into the enemy formation, its shields glowing brighter with each hit it took. Power levels at maximum, Roberts called. The core can't absorb any more energy. We have to release it now. Walker looked at his tactical display. The Steadfast was right where he wanted it, in the middle of the tightest concentration of enemy ships. Their precise formation, usually a strength, now worked against them. On my mark, Walker said, his hand hovering over his control panel. He waited 2 more seconds, letting 3 more shots hit their shields. Now, release all power through the shield grid. The Steadfast shields flared like a newborn star. All the energy they had absorbed, amplified by the massive power core, burst outward in a wave of blue-white fire. The blast caught the nearby compact ships completely by surprise. Their advanced shields, so perfectly tuned and efficient, couldn't handle this crude but overwhelming surge of power. Ship after ship went dark as the energy wave overloaded their systems. The most advanced fleet in known space was being beaten by technology they had considered primitive. Direct hit on enemy vessels, Thompson reported, his voice filled with amazement. Their shields are failing. I'm reading multiple hull breaches across their fleet. The Steadfast wasn't finished. Its power core was already building up another charge, drawing energy from the chaos around them. Walker had his ship turned tightly, presenting fresh shield sections to enemy fire, absorbing more energy for their next attack. Earth fleet is responding, Green called out. They're targeting the ships we've damaged. Walker allowed himself a small smile. Finally, the modern ships had targets they could hurt. While the Steadfast absorbed and redirected the compact's energy weapons, Earth's fleet could attack the weakened enemy vessels. The battle was far from over. The compact still had many ships, and they were already trying to adjust their tactics. But Walker had shown them something they never expected, that their advanced technology could be beaten by a ship they had thought too weak to matter. Keep us moving, Walker ordered. Don't let them predict our pattern. Every time they hit us, we get stronger. Show them why they should have feared this old ship from the start. The Steadfast moved through space like a dancer, its outdated engines pushing it through maneuvers that looked impossible. Each time the compact ships fired, the old vessel's shields absorbed their attacks. Each time the shields released their stored energy, more enemy ships went dark. The battle for New Haven had turned, The ship no one had believed in was proving that sometimes the old ways were the best ways, and Walker's crew, who had trusted in their captain and their ship, were showing the galaxy that being underestimated was the greatest advantage of all. The space around New Haven had become a battlefield unlike anything in human history. The Steadfast moved through the chaos like a ghost, its glowing shields absorbing every shot the compact ships fired. But the old ship was starting to show signs of strain. Hull stress increasing, Roberts reported from engineering. The power core is handling the load, but our structural integrity is at 80% and falling. Walker gripped his chair as another blast rocked the ship. The Compact's fleet had finally realized the true threat the Steadfast posed. Instead of dismissing it as an outdated relic, they now focused their attacks on the one ship that could hurt them. "Bring us around for another pass," Walker ordered. "Target their command ships this time." The Steadfast turned, its old engines groaning under the strain. The enemy had adapted their tactics, spreading their ships out to minimize the damage when the Steadfast released its stored energy. But Walker had expected this. He had spent years studying warfare, learning how to use his ship's unique abilities in ways no one had imagined. "Sir," Green called from her station, "new contacts arriving. The Compact is bringing in reinforcements." The tactical display showed more purple dots appearing at the edge of the system. Fresh enemy ships, their crews probably warned about the strange human vessel that could turn their own weapons against them. The Steadfast had bloodied the Compact's nose, but now they were angry. "Message from Fleet Command," Miller reported. "They're ordering all ships to fall back. They say we can't win against these numbers." Walker studied the battlefield. The Steadfast had given Earth's fleet a fighting chance, but the enemy still outnumbered them. A wise captain would retreat now, save his ship and crew to fight another day. But Walker saw something in the enemy's movements that gave him an idea. "Look at their formation," he told Miller, pointing at the display. "They're trying to trap us, force us into a position where we can only absorb attacks from one direction. But that means they have to bunch up their ships again." Miller's eyes widened as he understood. "They think they've learned how to beat us, but they're actually giving us exactly what we need." Walker nodded. "Tell engineering to divert all remaining power to the core. We're going to show them something new." The Steadfast's engines fired, pushing the old ship straight toward the trap the Compact had laid. Enemy ships moved to surround them, their weapons charging. They thought they had figured out the limits of this strange human vessel. "Sir," Roberts called from engineering, "if we take hits from all sides at once, the power levels will be higher than anything we tested. The core might not be able to handle it." "It'll hold," Walker said firmly. "This ship was built for moments like this. They just didn't know it yet." The Compact ships opened fire. Energy beams struck the Steadfast from every direction. The shields glowed brighter than ever, absorbing power faster than they had thought possible. The whole ship vibrated as the power core worked to contain the massive energy surge. "Hull stress critical," Roberts shouted. "Power levels exceeding maximum tested capacity." Walker watched his displays carefully. The Steadfast's systems were handling more power than should have been possible, but the old ship's overbuilt design was proving its worth. Where modern ships would have failed, the Steadfast endured. "All hands," Walker called over the ship-wide comm. "Prepare for emergency maneuver. Braced for impact." In the next moment, Walker triggered something no one had ever tried before. Instead of releasing the stored energy in a single direction, he ordered the shields to pulse in a rotating pattern. The result was spectacular. The Steadfast became the center of an expanding spiral of energy. The blast caught the enemy ships in waves, each pulse timed to hit them as their shields tried to recover from the previous hit. Ships that could have survived one blast fell to repeated hits that came too fast for their systems to handle. Enemy ships losing power across all sectors, Thompson reported. "Their formations are breaking up." The Compact's careful trap had become their worst nightmare. Ships collided as they tried to escape the energy storm centered on the Steadfast. Others lost power completely, their advanced systems overwhelmed by the crude but overwhelming force being thrown at them. Earth fleet is advancing, Green called out. They're moving to support us. Finally understanding what the Steadfast could do, Earth's modern ships pressed the attack. They targeted enemy vessels whose shields had been overloaded, their weapons now effective against the previously invulnerable targets. But the Steadfast wasn't finished yet. Even as warning lights flashed across every console and the hull groaned under impossible stresses, Walker had one more card to play. Plot a course for their flagship, he ordered. Everything we have left. One final push. The old ship's engines burned bright as they drove toward the heart of the enemy fleet. The Compact's flagship, a massive vessel that dwarfed the Steadfast, tried to retreat. But Walker had studied their tactics too well. He knew exactly where they would try to go. Release remaining power on my mark, Walker ordered. Engineering, give us everything the Corps has left. Don't hold anything back. The Steadfast closed the distance, taking more hits as it went. Its shields were wavering now, the power core straining to contain the energy being forced into it. But Walker had timed it perfectly. Just as the enemy flagship began its escape maneuver, Walker gave the order. Now. The Steadfast released every bit of stored power in a single focused blast. The enemy flagship's shields, already stressed from the previous attacks, couldn't handle the concentrated energy. The massive ship's power grid overloaded, cascading failures spreading across its hull. Enemy flagship is breaking up, Thompson reported, his voice filled with awe. The rest of their fleet. They're retreating. The Compact's remaining ships, seeing their flagship destroyed by a vessel they had dismissed as obsolete, began jumping away from New Haven. The most advanced fleet in known space had been defeated by technology they had considered primitive. Walker looked around his bridge. Warning lights flashed everywhere. Smoke rose from overloaded circuits. The Steadfast had pushed itself far beyond its designed limits, but it had survived. It had won. Stand down from battle stations, Walker ordered. Begin damage control procedures. He opened a channel to engineering. Chief Roberts, how's our old girl doing? She's hurt, sir, Roberts replied, pride mixing with concern in her voice. But nothing we can't fix. The core is stable, just needs time to cool down. This old ship saved all our lives today. As the adrenaline of battle faded, messages began pouring in from Earth's fleet. Ships that had once looked down on the Steadfast now sent congratulations and praise. The old training vessel had become a legend in a single battle. Walker stood at his viewport, watching Earth's ships move to secure the system. The Steadfast's victory would change everything. Military doctrine would be rewritten. The value of old technology would be re-examined. And somewhere, the designers of the Guardian program would know their ideas had finally been proven right. Not bad for an obsolete ship, Miller said, standing beside his captain. Walker smiled, patting the wall of his bridge gently. She was never obsolete. She was just waiting for the right moment to show what she could do. Sometimes, the old ways are the best ways. We just have to remember how to use them. The Steadfast floated quietly in space, its battle-scarred hull reflecting the light of New Haven's sun. The ship no one had feared had saved humanity's largest colony and destroyed an alien armada, not by being the newest or the most advanced, but by being exactly what it was. A well-built ship with a crew who believed in it, ready to prove that being underestimated was sometimes the greatest advantage of all.